It was an Instagram reel. Somehow it ended up in my feed, and it's a realtor, and he owns somewhere in the vicinity of 300 to 400 rental properties. One reel where he's going through one of the properties that he purchased, and it's in Akron, Ohio. It's 3-bedroom, 1 bath, 1,649 square feet on a 45 by 100 foot lot. In the GTA, how much would you think a home like that would fetch?
1.1, 1.2?
It was on the market for 95 days for $50,000. So talk about investing.
Well, it's funny when you watch, when you watch some people on TikTok or wherever, and they're talking
about. That's not even a down payment on a home here.
It's funny.
All right. Hello. Welcome to episode 160 of KT Confidential, the real estate podcast. We are your hosts, as always. I'm Ariel. He's Adrian. What's up?
Good morning.
Morning. Up in the morning. Booyah.
Get my light adjusted here.
You look good.
You hear me all right?
You're looking good. You're sounding good. Birds are chirping. Snow is falling.
I love waking up to a nice crisp morning with a layer of snow on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully.
I left the house super early this morning to come to the office, and it was dead silence. I love that when you've got a little bit of snowfall on the ground and it just dampens the noise, right?
Yeah.
And it was really, really peaceful.
I would have to agree with you.
Great start to the day. Episode 160 of KT Confidential, the real estate podcast. Today we're talking. So in the last two episodes, we talked about first-time home buyers and then gave some first-time homeowner tips. So those were back to back. And then we said, hey, episode 160 will be all about first-time investors. So for those of you that already own your primary residence and you're thinking about buying a rental property or an investment of real estate in some capacity, this episode is for you.
Well, and the premise of it came up because we talked about buying your first property, but we didn't necessarily know whether it was or specify whether it was for investment purposes or for personal use. So good to cover both options depending on who the viewer is. And for those of you who are maybe just tuning in for the first time and aren't familiar with us, just to give you a very brief background, Ariel and I we're neighbors, friends, and co-owners of the Kormendy Trott team, also referred to as the KT team. We're a top producing real estate team with Century 21 Canada. I think we'll end up in the top 10 this year, which will be exciting.
And top 10 team in 2021.
Yeah. Also
in
Canada. Also owners of a residential property management company, KTPM, KT Property Management. So, any advice, suggestions that come from us come from a place of experience, and hopefully they are helpful in your real estate ventures.
And, well, first of all, go to KormendyTrott.com or ktpm.ca. Those are the two websites for the sister companies. But we're also a team of now 14 people. So always somebody to answer your call, answer your questions. We train everybody on the team to be equally as educated. Maybe they don't have the same experience, but sometimes that is a benefit too. So, good little refresher for those of you that have been listening and watching for a long time as well.
Let's jump into it.
You mentioned it's a good point, because when we talk about first-time investors,
yes,
it really could be a first-time buyer as well, because we have been preaching since the prices have gone through the roof in the GTA, and a lot of first-time buyers cannot afford to purchase a home in the GTA. There's lots of options to own property across Canada. In fact, some of the smaller towns and smaller cities across the country are seeing rapid growth for that reason. Like Ottawa which is not exactly a small city, but in terms of real estate, they haven't appreciated as much in comparison to the GTA. London, again, not a small city, but lots of opportunities in those types of areas to invest in real estate, become, an investor, even though it's your first property, and rent it out. Have somebody paying down your mortgage.
Now you're talking still somewhat local. I mean, I know a lot of people now who are investing in Calgary.
Saskatchewan is booming.
New Brunswick, Halifax. There's a lot of areas where
I'd actually love to buy in PEI. And like when you and I spent some time in PEI.
I don't know if I'd go to PEI, but I would definitely go to Nova Scotia. Like I would do Halifax, in and around the coast, and prices there are just so affordable. And you're getting, actually, it was interesting last year in the midst of COVID, the province was putting out a lot of videos and advertisements to encourage people to relocate, given the flexibility with work schedules or work arrangements. And I know people that did, and we helped a few people move, sell their houses here and move to Nova Scotia. Local business owner that we both know, I was chatting with him the other day. I won't say names or anything, but he purchased a multi-unit building. I don't know how many units. 2 to 4 anyways, in New Brunswick, and he bought it. He had somebody there that went to see it, that he knows, but he's never seen it himself. And he has a management company handling it for him. So, people are struggling with the idea of affordability, and I think that comes down to just being open-minded to considering other places.
I don't remember where I saw this. I saved a photo of it. So let me just pull it up. And it was an Instagram it was an Instagram reel. Somehow it ended up in my feed.
Yeah.
And it's a realtor. And he owns somewhere in the vicinity of 300 to 400 rental properties.
I assume that means like doors in real estate investor terms, like a 4-plex would be considered 4 of those 200 or whatever you said.
Sure. Whatever. He owns 300 to 400 income generating doors.
Yeah.
We put it that way. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, holy crap, 300 to 400 in Milton. That's like $500 million. So I found one reel where he's going through one of the properties that he purchased, and it's in Akron, Ohio. It's 3-bedroom, 1 bath, 1,649 square feet on a 45 by 100 foot lot. So let's just do a quick comparison. In the GTA, I don't care where the GTA.
Tell me that again.
A detached home.
Yes.
3-bed, 1 bath.
Yeah.
1,650 square feet. On
2-story or bungalow?
2-story.
Okay.
On a 45 by 100 foot lot.
Okay.
In the GTA, how much would you think a home like that would fetch? Obviously, even saying GTA is way too broad to give you a number. But let's say like Milton. Akron. I've been to Akron. It's not a huge city, but it's a heavily populated area.
Yeah.
So compare that.
How many car garage? Or no garage?
No garage.
Okay. I would say 1.1, 1.2.
Right.
Something like that.
Sure. Yeah, you might even be light depending on where in the GTA.
Oh, for sure.
But detached, that 1,650 square feet, 3-bedroom, even though it only has 1 bath and no garage, you're over $1 million.
Oh yeah.
This house was on the market recently in Akron, Ohio, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1650 square foot detached home. Was on the market for 95 days for $50,000. So talk about investing. Like,
Well, it's funny when you
50 grand.
watch, when you watch some
50
people
grand.
on TikTok or wherever, and they're talking
That's
about
not even a down payment on a home here.
It's funny.
So investing in real estate can come in many different capacities, because so let's just say you're able to buy a home like that, $50,000, 5% down is $2,500 and you own it. And $45,000 mortgage. Well, I don't know what the rates are in the US right now, but it's probably about $250 a month in mortgage. You telling me you can't rent that thing for $600-700 a month and it automatically generates income?
Well, so, I guess the big thing is I think for people, I think it's a great idea to be buying outside of the province, outside of the country.
That's if those people actually pay their rent. That's a whole other topic.
Well, that's the thing, right? So it's, the dynamics of the area. You really need to align yourself with a professional in the areas. And much the same as you would if you were hiring someone here. Right?
Oh, for sure.
You need to align yourself with someone who knows what they're talking about. Because while that sounds incredible and, certainly not feasible anywhere near us, it may not be a good deal. And it may be a money pit, and it could cost you, it could be a big mistake. But there's, I know some people I follow on TikTok one particular person who will only invest in US real estate, will not invest in, specifically Toronto GTA real estate. So, and he's aligned himself.
Yeah. I know a lot of people like that. There's certain members of my extended family that are the same way in terms of buying in the US. For those of you that don't know or haven't heard the story, I did own a property in the US at the time of the market crash in 2008, I guess it was.
Yeah.
The story actually goes, so the market was hit really hard in the state of Florida, really, really hard. And tons of properties went into foreclosure. Was in the market for a condo. And I guess I probably viewed 40 condos roughly, because I did it all in one trip. Wanted to go out and see some different areas, and landed on West Palm Beach. Really enjoyed that area. Found this condo. The bank foreclosed on it with the owner of the property. The bank went into foreclosure. So the government actually ended up owning the condo, and that's how I bought it, from the government. And there was a deal to be had. So, you look for opportunities, whether it's in the US, in different countries, you look for opportunities. You purchased a condo in another country. I purchased a condo in another country. Your experience is very different. No need to elaborate on it, because I know it's a sore spot for you.
Oh, I don't mind. But that just goes back to doing your due diligence.
Well, and taking a risk. You're taking I can guarantee you, wherever you buy outside of Canada and very few countries in the world, are you not taking a risk by buying real estate? Canada has one of the safest real estate markets, and that's why it's so appealing to foreign investors. We see a ton of foreign investors buying real estate across the country. That is, that's helping fuel the fire for our real estate market, and it has been for quite some time. But, my experience dealing with buying and selling, because ultimately sold that condo a few years ago, but the experience I had with the property managers, anytime I had an issue with property taxes, some of the, because it was in a low rise, so there a low rise is 3-story condo buildings that kind of, it, almost resort stylish. And some of them were, a lot of them were tenanted, whether it was tenanted by the owner or owned by the management company, owned by the property itself, and rented out at their rental office. And we had a ton of issues with other people living in that complex as tenants. And, so things correlate with each other, because if you're paying $500 a month in rent, how much are you making per year? What type of lifestyle do you have? How good are you at paying your bills? All of those things sometimes can play a factor. So you got to look at all of that. But why do you think areas like London, as an example, where 3 years ago, I know this, my mother-in-law lives in London. She asked me to do a CMA for her, a market analysis on the value of her place. And I started digging into the London real estate market, and I've been watching it. 3 years ago, you could have bought a detached bungalow, nice little bungalow, for, I don't know, 350, maybe 400.
Yeah.
And now 3 years later, you're talking 6 to 7.
Right.
So, you just got to look for those kind of opportunities. So there's a great tip, for any kind of investor, whether you own a property now or you don't, is just looking at where the numbers make sense. And you're kind of I don't know why I've been saying this a lot lately about reverse engineering, but that's what you're kind of trying to do is reverse engineer that process, right? Like, how much do I got to spend? What type of tenant do I want? And okay, so here's what I can afford. Now, where can I afford it? And
I wouldn't really look
go
at,
ahead.
I wouldn't really look into, a lot of people get kind of fixated on certain things. Like, I want, as an example, I have somebody right now who wants a 2-bedroom condo, and all they want is, they've got a budget, and for some reason they want 2-bedroom. There's no real reason. That's just what appeals to them. But when it comes to investing, whether it's a shack on the corner of a street or a condo, the question it's
or a caboose.
Or a caboose. Yes. Recently saw a caboose available. You got to look at the opportunity in terms of, is there upside? Are there things you can do to the property to increase the value? If that's what you're looking for, or if you're just looking for something that's turnkey and rentable, well, let's just focus on the numbers. Let's just say, okay, well, how much does it cost? What are the carrying costs? Is it a condo? Yes. Okay. Well, what are the monthly condo fees? What is the anticipated rent, and how do the numbers align? Because sometimes buying a 1-bedroom condo for $150,000 less than a 2-bedroom condo actually is a better investment, right? So you really got to look at how the numbers all work out and stop getting fixated on little things. And we've helped people who had a $600,000-$700,000 budget spend 4 or 5, and be able to keep more of their money in their pocket and still do just as well.
Well, and you bring up the debate between a 2-bedroom condo and a 1-bedroom condo. A single professional person or a widow that happens to be retired, certain people, certain demographics do not want to rent a 2-bedroom. They want to save the money and keep their costs down. So yes, maybe there is a young couple and they need an extra bedroom for a home office or what have you. But, both could be equally as rentable. And then a one bedroom, obviously you're paying less in maintenance, you're paying less in the purchase price, less in your property taxes, less on everything. So how much less is the rent for that place versus the two bedroom? And more than likely, a two bedroom over a one bedroom is going to be, well, again, most of our work is in the GTA or in Hamilton area, west of the GTA. You're talking probably between $50,000 and $100,000 increase on a condo price between a one bedroom and a two bedroom. Low end would be 50 grand. And
that depends on size, because you could have a 600 square
location,
foot one bedroom and a 600 square foot two bedroom. So
what floor is it on? What view does it have? North, south, whatever. But I'm just saying, let's say it's $100 grand difference between the one bedroom and two bedroom. 100 grand is roughly right now 4.25% on a mortgage. Are you going to get $2 grand for a one bedroom and then 25 for a two bedroom? I don't know. Those numbers are a little closer, I think. If it's a one bedroom's renting for $2 grand, you'll probably get 2,300 on a two bedroom.
Well, and the nice thing is it's not hard to find
24. I don't know. Yeah, right.
It's very easy to crunch the numbers and then narrow down your search. So I'd say the only variable really that comes into play is, outside of that, because that's easy to figure out, is also geographically. Like, do you plan to manage it yourself and you need to be within a reasonable distance of driving, or are you going to hire a local company to manage it and that doesn't really matter? So, geographically,
realistically, you don't have to hire a company to manage it. I mean, there's lots of virtual ways that you can manage it. You just have to have the time and the patience to do it. Yeah. Right. Like, that takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, which is why people source out property management companies. But I've said this before in past podcasts, the one thing that I would look for is, as an investment property that you're planning on renting, what is the public transportation that's available to that property? How is the public transit in that area and to the property itself? So potentially, if somebody doesn't have a car or wants to take public transportation, is there a GO station nearby so they can hop on the GO and end up in Toronto, as an example, if they wanted to? That opens up your avenues for renting. Anytime you have, the better the public transportation close to the property, the more likely you are to have a wider audience to be able to rent it. And typically the resale value on those homes is higher too.
Yeah. Public transit's a big variable. Definitely. I would have to agree. I think
so. I want to talk a little bit about Brisard.
Okay.
So for those of you that do not follow us on Instagram yet, go ahead and do that now. I'm going to be posting some stories. Or we might be posting some stories. I know I will. I don't know if you will. And then we're going to do a little video series, I'm sure, or post some videos on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe. As they say, smash that subscribe button now, because you're going to want to follow what we're doing at this property. So this property, 887 Brisard Circle in Milton, was a property that Adrian and I purchased in, I can't remember when, August, I believe,
possession
of 2019.
In September of 2019.
September of 2019 is when we got
or August, something like that.
August, something
maybe
like
August.
We had back-to-back tenants. One was in there for 14 months, the other in there for 13 months, something like that.
It was exactly a year. She left at the end of her term. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that makes sense. Both tenants that we had in there, very good. Kept the place real nice. Like, the condition of it today is not much worse than it was when when we got the keys, when we bought it. In both cases, we were cash flow positive every month.
Yeah. The big thing with that one that I think a lot of people overlook, especially people that are maybe just getting into it, is it wasn't the prettiest house. I mean, there's some really nice things going for it.
Yeah, you want to talk about that? I'll be right back.
Well, there's some really nice things going for it. So, and this is what people need to start looking for, because this is how you get better deals. The house was relatively basic. There's granite countertops in the kitchen. Otherwise, the kitchen cabinets were a terrible color. The entire house was carpeted.
Brutal. Never mind terrible. Like probably the worst color of cabinets I've ever seen. I'm going to post some photos on Instagram because I want people's opinion. We are having them professionally painted.
I think the color is the bad choice in color is emphasized by the countertops that don't match whatsoever.
Well, it's everything. Everything was not coordinated properly, which makes the cabinets look just hideous. But when we looked at it, like it had, other than the dishwasher, it had decent appliances. It was clean, relatively. The key was location.
Location was the important thing. So it's on a dead end, quiet street. It's backing onto green space, which is next to impossible to find in a townhouse.
Yeah, so it is a 2-story townhouse and unit, for those of you wondering. Yep.
But yeah, overall, it was fairly basic.
And literally, you are 3 homes down from further green space where the park starts.
Yeah.
So your sidewalk in front of the house, you literally walk maybe a couple hundred meters and you're at, in my opinion, the best park in Milton.
Yes.
So it had a lot of things going for it.
It did.
That were not the changeable items, right? Because you can't change the location. You can't change the lot size. You can't change the construction of the home. You can change some minor changes
inside, and with a relatively tight, small budget, which we'll elaborate on through the posts that we're going to be putting up over the course of the next couple of months. It will be a completely different house. So the big thing with that is we saw the upside. We saw it was clean. It was in a great spot, very rentable home. And we knew that when it was time to sell it with a little bit of money, we would have been able to increase the value substantially, which is something that we're looking forward to doing.
Here's the thing, because it was the right property for us. And we were ready to go. We had money ready, just waiting for an opportunity to present itself. We jumped on it quickly. I didn't even walk in the property. You had gone and seen it. And within 5 minutes, we decided we were going to put an offer in. And by the end of the day, we had bought it. But the key here is we could easily keep that property and keep it rented and pay down the mortgage.
I thought so.
Is that what Siri said?
Siri agrees.
Siri agrees.
Yeah.
But in this case, we've decided to divest out of that property and reinvest now the profits and the equity that we will make from it into other properties that might give us some more leverage down the road. So potentially turning one property into multiple properties. So we've decided to divest from that. So what we're going to do is transform this home into a first-time home buyer's dream, because we know in the market that this home is in, that is pretty well the starter market. You know, there's 3-story townhomes, but oftentimes if you're a younger couple or a first-time home buyer, new immigrant, things like that, you're looking for a 2-story with a backyard. And so we're going to modernize it. We're going to make it look sexy. We're going to stage it. We're going to paint it. We're going to swap out floors. We're going to put new stairs in. We're going to do a whole remodel, but with a relatively small budget. And we're going to document everything. So make sure you subscribe and follow if you want to follow along.
I think the interesting thing with this that will come of this is just really showing people how easy it is to do things and how it is fairly affordable.
Yeah. And quite honestly, if you had asked me 2 years ago when we bought the property, if I wanted to drop that money on it then, I would have said no, because we were on a budget to buy the property. We didn't have extra money to dump into it. We didn't need to spend the money in order to have it tenanted by quality, qualified tenants that were paying and took care of the home. But now that we're selling it, like, who wants carpet on the main floor and carpeted stairs now, right? Like, nobody. So we're going to invest. We're going to spend some money.
Yeah, and that's especially true because we're in a market where there are a lot of new homes. And all
Correct.
of those new homes have laminate or hardwood and nice stairs and tall, all these things.
Well, I'm going to correct myself. Every home sells. It's just a matter of how long is it going to take to sell it and at what price, right? So could we sell it the way it is? Sure. Are we going to maximize our proceeds? Are we going to attract the widest audience possible by selling it as it is? Absolutely not.
Right. So you bring it up to par with what the new homes look like, because that's what people are comparing you to. And then we have that. So we're at that level. Plus we have all the other things they probably aren't getting elsewhere, such as an end unit, which is not impossible to find, but it's a bit more rare, and the green space and the quiet street. So,
and I did some research, my friend, because the backyard on that property, like for the lot size, is extremely deep. So usually on a 2-story townhouse, when you have a sidewalk, you would not be able to widen your driveway.
Right.
In this case, because of the extra deep lot, not only do you have a bigger backyard that backs onto the green space, you also have a bigger front yard with a sidewalk and the ability to widen your driveway. So you can actually have to me, if you have children, having a sidewalk is a huge benefit.
Yeah.
For safety purposes.
Well, especially because it's right up the street to the park.
Leads up to the park. So literally you walk out your front door, never have to step foot on a road, and you just in a 2-minute walk on the sidewalk and you're right at the park. It's beautiful.
Yes. So the key with this
follow along.
Follow along.
I'm excited for this.
Follow along. You'll see the transition.
I love the floors. I saw the floors. You dropped off the box of floors yesterday.
I think they'll look really nice.
Tyler, and the key is, so we got the keys on the weekend. Already on Monday, we had our Tyler breaking the wall and taking down the existing backsplash, which, by the way, some people, not mentioning any names, but some people would say that the backsplash is perfectly okay and that it's nice and that it matches the countertops or whatever. But there's certain areas where you have to splurge a little. So could we have left the backsplash as it was? I don't even know what color that was. Kind of,
you know what though, and I don't disagree. There's also a balance. There's also a balance of wanting to actually provide a nice product to somebody versus somebody who's just solely in it for the money and they just slap together things that they find on sale.
You can absolutely tell when you go into a flip home that somebody didn't give a shit about, right?
Right. And I don't want to be that person.
Or you go into a home, just like our example here with Brisard. If there's lots of landlords out there, especially now, I start to see now that landlords are selling off some of their investment, some of their rental properties. And, the floors are destroyed or whatever, and they get the cheapest person to go in there to install the cheapest laminate that looks awful. It was installed poorly. There's gaps. The baseboards don't line up or whatever. And it's so identifiable really quickly. And buyers notice that stuff. Yeah. If there's no attention to detail and the quality of work isn't there, they're going to notice. You're not going to get top dollar. So it's better to spend a little bit more, raise your budget to get it done right, even if you have to cut back somewhere. Like, I'd almost rather, if our budget wouldn't allow for it, Maybe we scale back instead of doing new flooring throughout the entire home. Maybe we leave the bedrooms carpeted as an example. So there are things that you can scale
Well, like
back.
we were contemplating widening the driveway, which would provide value. But
correct, because then if you widen the driveway, you've got a 2-story townhome that you can actually park side by side. But we decided ultimately, based on price and timing, but mostly price, that the return on that investment wouldn't be
it was better spent
as
elsewhere.
big as better spent elsewhere.
Yes.
And
we can still convey to people that it can be done.
Exactly. To your point, in the marketing and the visuals of being able to do that at any point down the road, I think would appeal to people anyway. And considering there's already 2-car parking. So,
right.
Yeah. Anyway, so follow along, subscribe, follow us on Instagram. We're going to post some teasers. We're in the process of buying some light fixtures. We're going to change out all the lighting. That's always hard. Picking lighting is difficult because if you have an unlimited budget, sure, you can get
what they need is
you want, but
they're not quite there yet. And this exists with more products. The more I start to shop online, but having like a augmented reality where you can drop the product into the room and see it.
Wayfair has it
with lights.
Yeah.
Well, they don't do a very good job at promoting it because I don't see it anywhere. Like every light fixture should have the option to click it and drop it into the room.
So even the pendants that I bought from Wayfair for that property, if you swipe, I don't know, there's probably 4 or 5 photos. The last or the second last swipe is a quote unquote view it in your room.
Right. Interesting. Because all the other ones I looked at don't. So I guess it's just not, it's dependent on the reseller.
It depends on the supplier of the product.
They probably pay a premium for that feature or something on Wayfair, I'm guessing. Maybe. But like they do that for shoes. I think it's really cool. You throw your foot up on the screen and then select the shoe and it puts it on your, and it's
is that why you've been doing it? I just thought you had a foot fetish and we're really proud of your feet.
It's a really good feature. So let's talk, we'll get into that more in other podcasts and other, posting it everywhere. But let's talk a little bit about, because this is tips for first-time buyers that are purchasing for investment purposes. And it kind of coincides with the conversation now. And that is with regards to the condition of the house as it relates to finding a good tenant. And we've spoken about this before, in that the condition of your home will attract a like tenant. So if you have a stinky, dirty, messy home, you're going to get a stinky, dirty, messy tenant. So spend the time to clean it up, clean the carpets if they need it. Give the house a basic quick coat of paint. If you've got shitty, ugly appliances, replace them. And you don't need anything fancy, but just a presentable home that a respectable person would want to live in.
Cleanliness goes a long way when it comes to finding a good tenant.
Agreed.
Oh, again, going back to this property that we're going to be selling, before we marketed it, we had the carpets all cleaned, professionally cleaned. We had the air ducts cleaned. We replaced some of the window coverings, made sure all the light bulbs were working, and then we had the place professionally cleaned. And it showed really well, like very basic home, but it was nice and clean. It was the proverbial quote unquote move in ready home.
Yeah. And we got relatively clean, easygoing people.
And top buck.
Yeah. And that's a thing, a mark that a lot of people miss with rentals, because if you're out shopping for rentals, you'll notice that a lot of them are not very attractive. And
that's also the photography.
And that's another part. It's like, hire somebody that doesn't cheap out on the marketing aspect of it, because, that's the first place people see it is online. So you'll connect with a bigger audience if it looks good online, let alone in person.
Yep.
Are you reading text messages? This is how my
phone,
wife feels.
This
is how my wife feels.
I had 46. That's how your wife feels. Why?
Because she talks to me and I'm always very distracted.
Okay, well, I feel her pain. No, I had 46 messages. So since we've been doing this podcast, so I thought something was
on airplane mode, so I don't know what's coming.
I thought there was an emergency. Anyway, so there you go. Some tips for you guys if you're considering on investing in real estate in any capacity. We're always happy to chat and answer your questions, answer anything that you have that might come up. I always get, I don't know if you get the same thing, but we've got a database of clients over the last 10 years that a lot of them now own secondary properties or more. And I would say on an average week, I get at least 3 or 4 of them just asking me, hey, how much do you think this would rent for? Or, would this be a good option or whatever? Can we run the numbers? Because oftentimes once you own one property, you can then take the equity after a year or two and refinance it or leverage that property to purchase another one. And that's what savvy real estate investors do. And so I get it all the time where they ask me, okay, how much was property number one worth now? Like, how much would it be worth in today's market?
Right.
I saw this one come up. One of my clients, I'm a huge fan of Grimsby. I have for many, many years. Some of the properties on the promenade there are just awesome. I love the condos there, especially if you get water view. And one of them came up on the market a couple of weeks ago. And my client just messaged me and said, what do you think this is going to sell for? What do you think it's going to rent for? And how much does condo number 1 and 2 that we own, how much are they worth right now in the marketplace? And, usually I can bang those answers off pretty quickly. So I'm happy always to, have those chats because their second condo was purchased from one of those conversations. It was just on the whim.
Right.
Something came up. Can it work? Do the numbers work? Yes, they did. They didn't even, I can't remember if they even went and saw the property in person or not. But by the end of that day, basically they owned condo number 2. So, if you're listening, whether you're a client of ours or not, this isn't intended to solicit people that are under contract with the brokerage, but I think we're happy to help.
First time we've ever either of us have ever gone out of our way to say that.
Probably the first time in 160 episodes we've ever said this is not intended to solicit anyone that's under contract currently with another brokerage.
Yeah,
or whatever that disclaimer really should be, but that was pretty close.
Covered our ass.
Yep. No Rico's slap in the hand for you today.
No, another quick tip for first-time investors, especially, or even anyone, but when you're pricing your rental, it's extremely important, just as important as when you're selling, to be accurate with your pricing and have realistic expectations. And one strategy that's not a bad strategy if you're competing against a lot of other homes is to price it slightly aggressive on the lower side. To attract more people. There was one property not too long ago that I personally listed for rent, and the owner had a difference of opinion and value, and I was unable to convince them otherwise. And we listed a bit higher than I would have liked to. The house sat for 2 months before doing a price reduction, and then eventually rented. So one thing to take into consideration there is your lost opportunity cost of your monthly income.
And at the same time that was happening with your property, I had a rental property go up on the market during that time, and it was rented in 2 days for over the asking price to a wonderful tenant. And it ended up renting for more than what the market value actually was bearing at that moment for that type of property.
Right.
But because we had cleaned the home, it was painted, it showed well, and we were super aggressive. Like it was $100 less than what the market rent would have been. And for renters, $100 less than what market rent is attractive if the home is attractive.
Right.
So it generated a lot of interest quickly. It got rented real quick. The homeowner wasn't out of pocket for carrying the property for a month or two because it was vacant. And so that's the difference there. Anyway, episode 160, KT Confidential. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Again, follow us along for this renovation that we're going to do on one of our rental properties that we're going to be listing for sale. I'm excited to see the transformation. I'm sure you guys will be as well. That's it for this week. Thanks, Adrian. Nice chatting with you.
Good chat, my friend. Bye for now.
See you soon. Bye-bye.